Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports for today's URC round 5. 5 things learned. Always a very cool video to do. Basically, it's about reflecting on the URC round that we have just seen and what some of the takeaways, what some of the things we learned are. And why I really like these videos is because I really like the difference of opinion. So there are certain things I might have noticed during the round. There's certain things that you would have noticed, for example. And it's very cool to sort of jump into the comments and see what other people sort of took away from this past weekend. So before I go any further and start looking at the 5 things that I learned, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, without further ado, let's start with number 1, shall we? Which is SA team struggles with travel continue. We've got a very bad record overseas, and we're into season 3, and that can no longer be an excuse, in terms of not knowing the conditions. What can be an excuse is the fact, obviously, that some of these teams are missing players. And missing some important players. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I think you put in a Frans Beherber, Dion Currie, Damian Willems, Marty Liebach into that Stormers side. And I think they do become a different side. There's no doubt that Evan Etzebeth, Mapimpi, Jaden Henderson, Grant Williams, or boost the Sharks, for example. But the sides that we had was still good enough. And I mean, for example, the Sharks, they were at home. But if we look at the Stormers, they've now gone 3 losses on the trot. They're definitely a side that struggle away from home. They've kind of created this fortress down in Cape Town. But generally, the SA teams need to start being able to adapt a bit better. Yes, it's difficult playing with someone without the Springboks, stuff like that. We've also gone these sort of extended tours as opposed to sort of the URC sides generally come out here 2 weeks sort of max at a time. But that is what it is. You can't complain about it. We've got to start adapting to it. But unfortunately, one thing we're learning is that we're not learning how to play overseas, and those sort of struggles do seem to be continuing. Right, in terms of number 2, Sharks in a full crisis. 5 games, 5 losses, bottom of the log, just the 2 points is the definition of a crisis. And I don't know what they do. You can't go and sack the coaching staff. They've only just begun. They brought in John Plumtree and, to sort of turn things around. And, they finished 8th last season, missed out on Champions Cup on a technicality, which actually won't exist this season. But at this stage, Benson Rugby are sitting at 12 points ahead of the Sharks. That's 3 wins away, or 2 bonus point wins and a single win, But it's a while away at the end of the day to be able to catch, the likes of a Benson. So it's not good looking for the Sharks, looking good for the Sharks rather. And they desperately need some players back. And yes, I understand they've got an injury replacement stuff. But I think the biggest frustration, and this is what a lot of people are saying, is there just doesn't seem to be a plan. There doesn't seem to be a game plan that they're going out and trying and just not sort of climbing off. A lot of people are saying there just needs to be a bit of, sporadic sort of rugby, sort of people just going out there and sort of playing with vibes, really. Throwing the ball around when they want around. Sometimes they run, sometimes they kick. There just doesn't seem to be a structured game plan at the moment that they are failing to play to. It just looks very, very messy. In terms of number 3, Lions showing definite improvement. It's difficult to say that Lions are showing improvement. They sit with just 1 win after 5 games. They do, however, have 7 more points than the Sharks. So, call it an extra win, for example. They have managed to take out a loser bonus point out of every single game. I think that's the big thing about them, is that they're competitive at the moment. They're not necessarily winning games, can't get over that final hurdle, but there's definitely signs this team is progressing. And they did have a very long preseason together. Obviously, no disruption with regards to Box not being there, because they don't have any at the moment. And I definitely think there's a team starting to develop within that line setup. Are they going to compete at the highest level? I don't think so until we start getting more players, we start keeping more players, start getting more investment in the union. But there's no doubt that this team is operating at a higher level than they were a year ago, which is very much a positive. Number 4, Welsh sides set to struggle. Last year, there were a couple of decent results. Austria did a very nice sort of Challenge Cup campaign, and there are a couple of decent performances. Dragons have traditionally been the whipping boys, and the fact that they got a win this weekend is obviously very good for them. But I don't think there's a lot of difference between the 4 Welsh sides who occupy the majority of the bottom spots, really. If we look at the bottom 6 teams, they are the 4 Welsh sides and then Lions and Sharks. So it literally goes 10th Ospreys, 7th, 11th Cardiff, 12th Lions, 13th Dragons, 15th Scarlet, 16th Sharks. So we can't really talk much as South African fans. However, they have played more games at home, for example, whereas obviously the South African teams have been on the road. And I just, Cardiff drawing to Zebra, for example, not a team that they expect to beat. Dragons beating Ospreys quite significantly is good for Dragons, but for me, it also kind of shows that I think Ospreys' level is going to drop this season. We all know that they've lost a lot of players due to sort of the chaos within the Welsh system. And unfortunately, it's just not looking like good news across those Welsh sides, and I don't think they're going to have a very good chance of making that Champions Cup spot this season. On the other end of the stick, number 5, the Irish teams will only get better. I do think they're only going to get better. I think that, for example, Leinster are topping the log, but have conceded quite a few points. They had quite a leaky defence this season. It's still one of the best defences in the competition, bar, I think, a Benetton and Munster, who conceded fewer points. But look what they're doing. They're bringing in Jacques Nyamba, for example. They're the number one. They were the number one inside in the world for the last couple of years with Ireland. And, the fact that Connacht, for example, who are the weak Irish side, sit, fourth in the log, tied third. They've got 4 wins out of 5, as do Ulster, as do Leinster. Munster got 3 wins out of 5. So I do think we're about to see the sort of the golden age of Ireland domestic rugby alongside the international success that they have had. Yes, it didn't go well for them in the World Cup, but I think from a domestic point of view, I think these sides are only going to get stronger and are really going to become sides to really be reckoned with in the upcoming years. Those are sort of my 5 takeaways. Let me know what yours were down in the comments below. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve. I'll chat to you soon.